guys, happy spooky season. The first thriller I've picked up for this video is A Talent for Murder by Peter Swanson. This is actually the third book in one of his series, which I had no idea he was continuing on with or writing more. So it was such a pleasant surprise when I saw that this book was out. The first book in this series is The Kindworth Killing, which is one of my favorite thrillers of all time. I talk about this book nonstop. It is one of my 5-star reads. Book 2 in this series is The Kindworth Saving, which I didn't love as much, but it gave a lot of closure for some of the stuff that happened in book 1. It tied up a lot of loose ends and wrapped things up, so I did enjoy it for that reason. But I felt like the story was kind of over after book 2, but I'm really glad that he's writing more. So far in book 3, I jumped right into it without even reading the synopsis, but we are following our main character who believes her husband might be a serial killer. He is like a traveling salesman. He goes to all these teacher conferences and sells novelty items to like math and English teachers. And his wife and our main character kind of discovers that each city where one of these conferences is held that he attends, and during the same time frame there just so happens to be a woman who turns up dead. So she is thinking, based on a few little things that have happened, interactions she's had with her husband, he might have some involvement in it. So that's what she's trying to figure out. She ends up enlisting the help of another character who we know very well from books 1 and 2 in this series. I'm so glad this character is back. They are one of my favorites, but I will say I'm having a little bit of trouble fully buying why they would want to help our main character and why they're a part of the story. I feel like there's not too much purpose other than bringing them back. So for that reason, I'm not questioning it. I'm not complaining, but at the same time, I'm like, why do they care? It doesn't really make sense, but still enjoying my time along for the ride. I'm listening to this one on audio because it has the same narrators as books 1 and 2, which I really enjoyed on audio as well. So doing the same for this one, really enjoying it so far. I love Peter Swanson's writing style. He has such a way of gripping you and pulling you into the story. He has all these little anecdotes as backstories for our main characters, and it is just so fascinating to read about. I just love it. So having a really good time with this one so far. I cannot wait to see what happens and what we uncover. I'll definitely keep you guys posted on all of my thoughts along the way. I finished the audiobook of A Talent for Murder. It was a really fast and easy listen for me, so I got through it super quickly. I will say it was one of those books where I didn't really have specific thoughts as I was reading, so I thought I would just save all my thoughts and opinions to share with you guys at the end. Overall, I did really enjoy the book. I love Peter Swanson's storytelling. It's just very gripping and very captivating. I love the backstories he gives our characters, and something about his writing style is just very vibey and dark and eerie, and it's perfect for this time of year, so I'm glad I chose it for one of my reads for spooky season. I will say though, I liked the first half of this book a lot more than the second half. The first half was very thrilling and exciting, and I was very much on the edge of my seat wondering what was going to happen. I had questions and theories that I couldn't wait to be revealed, and then the halfway point of the book kind of told me what I wanted to know, and the last half of the book was more so the aftermath of that, and you're just kind of like along for the ride, along for the adventure, which isn't my favorite kind of thriller. I more so like to be on the edge of my seat the whole time and then have this big reveal at the end. So I don't know, I feel like if this wasn't a book that's part of a series already established that I love with familiar characters, I don't know if I would have loved it as much as just like a standalone, but because it's part of this series I love with characters I love, it did contribute to me liking it more than I probably would have had it been a standalone. That being said though, I'm gonna give this one 3.75 stars. I did enjoy it and I would recommend it. I would recommend starting with the first 2 books in the series. You could technically pick this up and read it on its own, but I feel like there are little tidbits that you would kind of miss and would go over your head that wouldn't be as impactful as if you'd read the first 2 books beforehand. So I would recommend going in order. I would say book 1, The Kindworth Killing, by far my favorite of the series. That's a 5-star read for me. Book 2, I feel like I enjoyed it more because it gave us closure for what happened in book 1. I didn't necessarily love the characters or the storyline in that book as much. Book 3, I did really love our characters and storyline, but just not as much as the first book in this series. But overall, a really enjoyable read. I'm glad I read it. It was perfect for spooky season. I don't know if he's going to continue on with this series, but if he keeps writing books in the series, I will definitely keep reading them. The next book I'm going to be reading for this video is actually a teeny tiny novella. It's just over 100 pages. This is Graveyard Shift by ML Rio. ML Rio is the author of If We're Villains, which I read last last spooky season. It is A Dark Academia, and it has a pretty big fan following. She hasn't written anything since, so finally we get something from her, and it is a teeny tiny novella. But I do believe she announced she has a full-length novel coming out next year, so very, very excited. But for now, I'm just so happy to have more from her. I actually got the arc of this one earlier in the summer, but I knew I wanted to save it for spooky season. I didn't read the synopsis. I really don't know what this book is about, but just based on the title and the cover and just kind of knowing ML Rio's writing style from If We Were Villains, I thought it would be perfect for this time of year. I picked this one up earlier to start, and I read the author's note, and I was very intrigued by it because she talks a lot about her own personal struggle with insomnia, and she said that's the main topic that this book kind of explores. And as I was flipping through, it looks like this book takes place over the course of one night, and it looks like we get 5 different characters' perspectives. So I'm really excited about that because one of my favorite parts of If We Were Villains was the way she wrote these very dynamic, interesting characters. They were very flawed and a lot of them unlikable, but it made them feel very real and just so intriguing to read about. So I feel like that might be the case in here, I'm hoping. And the fact that it takes place over the course of one night, like it starts at midnight, and then as the chapters kind of break, it gives you a new point of view. It tells you the character we're following and then like a timestamp. So it goes from midnight until 10 a.m. the next morning. I love that concept. So I kind of want to wait to read this until tonight when it's dark out. I feel like the vibes are just gonna hit better and make me enjoy this book even more. Since it's super short, I feel like I'll probably finish it in like 1, maybe 2 sittings, but I'll try to update you guys if I have thoughts along the way. If not, I'll talk to you when I have finished this one, but I am very excited to jump in. So far in this book, we're following 5 main characters, and they all kind of work night shift type jobs or have different reasons for being awake in the middle of the night. And their regular hangout spot that's kind of become the smoke break, meetup, hangout spot is this old abandoned graveyard that hasn't been used in years. The church that it sits behind is also abandoned, hasn't been used in forever, very run down. It has like a danger sign in the front of it. So they can kind of guarantee that they're always going to be the only people there, and that's kind of become their regular spot. On this one night in particular that our story is following, when they go to meet up in this abandoned graveyard, there is a freshly dug grave, this big hole in the middle of the graveyard. So they're trying to uncover the mystery of what could be going on, why this fresh grave is dug when this graveyard has not been used in years. And so far, I'm loving the writing style, as I kind of knew I would based on how I felt about If We Were Villains. This one is very eerie, very atmospheric, and perfect for spooky season, and it even takes place in October, so I'm really glad that I waited to read it until now. All the characters are so interesting, and I love getting all 5 of their POVs. The only thing with this one is the little clues that we're getting. I do think I kind of know what the reveal is going to be. I feel like I know the direction it's taking, just because I read another book that was very, very similar to this one, and I didn't necessarily love that book. So I'm kind of hoping this one takes a different direction, but so far I do feel like I know where things are going. I hope this one takes me by surprise and kind of throws in something unexpected, because I don't want to have things figured out, but that's just how I'm feeling about it so far. I'm planning to read as much as I can tonight, and then whatever I don't get to, I'll finish up in the morning and give you all my final thoughts tomorrow. Hi guys, I'm in the same exact spot, but it is the next day. I'm literally still in my pajamas, so please don't judge me, but I did finish this one up today. I'm here with my final thoughts. Last night I was telling you guys how I thought I had this one figured out, and I thought I knew exactly where it was going and that I had predicted the big reveal, and I'm happy to report that I was incorrect, and it ended up going in a direction that I was not expecting. And I really like the way this book did things versus the previous book that I read that had very similar vibes. I thought this one did it a lot better, and I definitely enjoyed it a lot more. Overall, everything that I said about this last night still stands true today. I loved the writing style, very atmospheric and spooky and perfect for this time of year. All of the characters were super, super interesting. I feel like ML Rio writes interesting characters so well. Even though they're flawed, I feel like that's what makes them feel realistic and relatable, and I really enjoy reading about them. I loved that this novella was was broken up to where we got all 5 POVs from each character, and I liked the structure of it, how it went hour by hour over the course of this one night. I will say though, with it being so short and just over 100 pages, I feel like for me, I can't rate novellas super highly just because I don't get enough. Like, I would just need more time with the characters, more to the storyline to really get invested and attached and to feel like this one would stick with me. So I'm giving this novella 3 stars. Definitely not bad by any means. I would recommend it and I enjoyed it, but just personally for me, since it's a little teeny tiny novella, I feel like I don't have enough of a connection or attachment to it to rate it any higher than 3 stars. But I am super excited for her next full-length novel to come out sometime next year. I need to check on the date because I'm not sure, but I feel like it comes out sometime next year around spooky season. So I cannot wait for more from ML Rio because I love her writing style so much. But definitely would recommend this one, especially if you're looking for a quick and easy read, if you're falling behind on your Goodreads goal and are trying to bump up your number of books read. This one is a fast one to get through. I've started the next book of the video, which is The Only One Left by Riley Sager. I am almost to the halfway point. I would say I've made a pretty good dent in it. This book has been on my TBR since I heard about it. I'm a big Riley Sager fan. He's an auto-buy author for me. I just love his books, and I actually picked this one up and started it this summer. I thought it would be a really good summery setting because I knew it took place by the water on this cliff, and as I was reading, I got a couple chapters in and realized that it actually takes place during the fall at this very gothic mansion. So I was like, no, I'm saving this for spooky season because that is very much the vibes that this book is giving. And I'm so glad that I saved it for now because it does take place in the month of October. So it is just the perfect read for this time of year. In this book, we follow our main character, Lenora, and she is an older woman who has suffered a few strokes. So she is unable to speak, unable to move. She actually was accused of murdering her entire family back in the day. So that is where our other main character, Kit, comes in, who is hired to be Lenora's caregiver, and she is kind of uncovering whether or not this is true of Lenora or not. And so far, I will say it's a lot of buildup in this book and it's a little bit slow going. I feel like I'm only reading it quickly because I'm so ready for something to happen, something to be revealed, something to pick up the pace. I'm just ready for it. I need a little bit of a change of pace in this book. I feel like I've only heard good reviews of this book and everyone says that it's full of twists and turns. So I just kind of thought there would be more twists and turns by now. But so far, I feel like we're not even getting hints or clues. Normally when I'm reading a thriller, I'm playing detective and trying to put the pieces together and see what's going to happen. But I feel like we're not getting anything really for me to even make guesses or theories or predictions. So I just have no idea what to expect. I feel like this could be one of those reveals where it's like hiding in plain sight and super obvious to where once you read it, you're like, how did I not know that was happening the whole time? Which I love those kind of reveals. So if that's the case, I will be very happy. But so far, I'm just ready for something to happen to kind of pick up the pace. Another thing about this book is there's not a single character in here that I trust. I feel like every single character in here could potentially be the bad guy or the villain or part of the reveal in some way. So I don't know if that's going to play into how shocked I am or how not shocked I am, but there really is not a single character, even like the minor side characters in here. I just don't like anyone. So it's kind of making me not be super invested because normally in thrillers, I feel like there's someone I root for. I just don't trust anyone in here. We kind of have 2 narrators and I would say they're both unreliable. So I have no idea what to expect. That could play into making the reveal more shocking or make it not hit for me. It could go either way. I am anxious to find out what's going to happen. We finally did get something revealed to us, and it was kind of something that had crossed my mind as a possibility, but I didn't know how it could be a possibility. I have to be vague because I don't want to give anything away. But the way this thing has actually been happening is crazier than I even predicted it could happen. So I'm glad this book is shocking me more than I kind of thought it would. And it's made me realize that I have so many other questions that need to be answered. I feel like there's so many factors and variables in what's going on now that I need an answer to, and we still have a good ways to go in the book. So I am excited to uncover more reveals and more answers. I can definitely see why people say this book has so many twists and turns, because I feel like we still have a long way to go and we haven't even been revealed the main question I have in this book. So finally, I'm glad this book gave me some crumbs, because I was needing something to pick up the pace and switch things up a little bit. And usually when that's my complaint in books, I feel like right when I say that, the next time I sit down to read, my complaint is resolved. So I will be enjoying the rest of my time reading this book. Hi guys, I finished The Only One Left by Riley Sager. I think the last time I was updating you guys was when the first twist was being revealed, which I kind of halfway guessed. I thought that this thing might be going on, I just didn't know how it could be going on or the extent that it was going on. So I definitely didn't completely guess things, but I had a feeling that this is what was happening. From there though, the twists and turns all took me completely by surprise. One concern I had was that since I didn't trust any of the characters, and I thought literally any of them could have been the bad guy, I thought that the whodunit aspect to this book was not going to shock me at all, but I could not have been more wrong. There was definitely certain things in this book that I overlooked, so I was very shocked and surprised by all the twists and turns that happened after that first reveal. Looking back on it, there were a lot of things in this book that didn't completely make sense to me, but I just didn't question it. I was like, oh, I guess I don't fully understand that. And then the little gaps and the things I didn't understand definitely made sense at the end, and I was like, oh, that's why that thing didn't make sense. So I thought the ending and the twist were really well done and everything wrapped up really nicely. It was very well thought out. I feel like all of Riley Sager's books are really well thought out and well written, and I love the concepts to his books too. I feel like they're very different from just a usual thriller that I would read. They all have really unique things about them. This wasn't my favorite by him though, I think because there was so much build up and a lot of lead up before we got to the reveals. I was just the slightest bit bored. I was like ready for something to happen to pull me in and keep me on the edge of my seat, and it got a little bit slow and repetitive for me. I also think since I didn't trust any of the characters, there was never like one person that I was rooting for that pulled me into the story or made me attached and invested, so I wasn't completely connected to it. So this wasn't my favorite from him, but definitely not my least favorite. I would probably give this like a 3.75 stars, which is somewhere in the middle in terms of how I've rated his other books. My very favorite by him is definitely Home Before Dark. That was almost a 5-star for me. Just under that, I would put House Across the Lake and The Last Time I Lied kind of at the same level. I gave both of those books 4 stars. Then this one would be just under that. Below that, I would put Lock Every Door. And then at the bottom, my least favorite by him is Survive the Night. So I haven't read all of his books. I think the 2 that I haven't read are actually his very first book, Final Girls, and then his most recent release, Middle of the Night. So that's kind of funny that the 2 I haven't read are his oldest and his newest books. So I would love to know y'all's thoughts on Riley Sager and his books, what you've read from him, what you think of his books. I feel like if I was to pick up another one in the near future, it would be Final Girls, because that seems more like a spooky season type of read, and Middle of the Night seems more like a summer type of thriller. So with that, I'm gonna close out the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Definitely had some good reads this week. Nothing amazing, no new favorites, but all 3 of the thrillers I read I would recommend, especially for spooky season. I thought they were perfect for this time of year. Let me know what y'all are picking up this spooky season. If you have any books you've loved recently, please leave them below in the comments. Don't forget to like if you enjoyed the video and subscribe to my channel if you are not already, so that you don't miss out on any future videos from me. And I'll see you guys so soon in the next one. Bye guys.